is Laura Kyttanen, and I am here with Molly, and we are doing a Lady Boss Mama series. The reason we started this series is because we found that there are so many lessons to be learned in the entrepreneur world, and as women with children, we wanted to get together and share our stories. So I have a 16-month-old, Aiden.
And hi everyone, I'm Molly Ades, and I have a 6-year-old Andrew and an 8-year-old Bennett. And I'm excited to be here with Laura, and we love doing Lady Boss Mamas, and today we're here with Allie.
Hey, I'm Allie. I'm sort of, I guess, the content creator on the AllieEffect.com. And so I have 2 little kiddos. I have a 4-year-old Ariana and almost 2-year-old Gabriel. So yeah, this whole entrepreneurial thing has been definitely sort of a new thing, but I'm super pumped about it.
You have a full-time business, which is a recruiter in the tech world, right?
Right. Yeah. So during the day, usually I'm interviewing candidates or walking them through the recruiting process, and then negotiating salaries and all that fun stuff. So been doing that for 7-8 years now, and it's definitely like a career that I really enjoy, but also at the same time, I think at some point I just needed that creative outlet. So that's why I started the blog.
How long have you had the blog? So you've been in the recruiting world for 11 years, and then when did you start the blog?
So I started planning the blog in December of 2016, but I didn't launch it until May of 2017.
Okay, so it's new.
Yeah. So it's new. I had like an Instagram account for a long time, but it was always just my kids. And then in February, I was kind of like, okay, I'm just going to start to do this Insta blogging and see how it goes. And it was just really awkward just posting all these pictures of myself. But anyways, yeah. So it's been pretty new for me.
I liked, Allie, when we spoke, you talked a lot about how the inspiration for starting your blog was actually your boss at work.
Yeah. He had mentioned something about, you need to sort of take a little bit more control of your social media presence because, in whatever you are, you just sort of want to be known for something. So he's like, we're in the big data space. You need to tweet more about big data. You need to tweet more about, the company and all that stuff. So that sort of just got me thinking like, well, maybe I should do more. And then I thought about, okay, what am I passionate about? If I could have a business, what would it be? And what do I want to do? And the word influencer always popped up in my mind. But, for me, it was, I wasn't really sure if I wanted to just do like fashion. Do I want to do more like deep, deep conversations getting into the psychology of things? But anyways, I just decided, okay, let's just keep it simple. Let's just focus on fashion and just see where it goes.
Being a recruiter, you get to be on the side of asking really tough questions to really get to know your candidates. And as I get to know other moms and the things that you go through with children, the biggest one is the questions that will come, but they always come at moments you're not expecting them, and then you don't know what you're going to answer. So what has been that moment for you where you've gotten this question and you're just like, oh my God?
Well, I mean, I think one of the questions is, so my daughter always asks, like, why do I have to work? Like, why do you have to go to work? And, for her, in a way, it's like, her whole life, she's just seen me work from home. She's never like sort of seen me work outside the home. So she asked me that the other day, and I was like, okay, how do I say this in a way that a child would understand? Because they don't understand the concept of money and what, you need money to have a house and clothes and all this stuff. So I had to sort of think about, okay. So I basically just sort of explained to her, when you grow up, you have to be responsible. You have to have a job. So then we have a house, so then you can have clothes and toys. She goes, oh, then you can just keep working.
I love that one.
But then at the same time, she goes, I just wish we had more time together. And that is like where I really, I feel really guilty that we have a short amount of time together. But when I do have that time, I want it to really count.
First of all, there's a couple things. You have your job during the day, and then you have your entrepreneurial venture, which is the blog and the fashion. But the interesting thing to me, and I find this with a lot of entrepreneurs, is it's like we have so many interests and so many talents and so many places where we could find success. And you found it in the tech world and the recruiting world, and then you have this fashion blog, which is all creative and artistic, and the Instagram stories and everything. So I guess just a little insight from you into like combining those worlds. And I feel like it must be fulfilling and exciting, and like you mentioned earlier, something that you didn't necessarily think you would be doing.
So it's funny you asked that, because like I feel like the two worlds don't collide at all. Okay. But partly that's how I want it to be. I want my day job to just be my day job. I don't talk about recruiting on my blog. At some point maybe, but I don't want it to be like a conflict of interest by any means. So that's why I don't mix the two at all. Like my boss, my coworkers, they know I have a blog, but that's sort of the extent of it. There's no mix between the two. But I think for me by nature, I'm a little bit more right-brained. But my mom always told me, if you want to make a living, you better start using your left brain. So just like,
get it together.
Right. But there's not a guarantee you're going to like be able to feed a family. Okay. So, you have to be like the 1.1% to get there. So my mom was an HR director. So it's funny because she called the shot. She's like, you're going to be in HR. And, as a teenager, you're kind of like, you don't know me. And, but it's just funny how like I fell into recruiting, and I found that this was something I really, really loved, because recruiting is really about relationships and understanding what does a business want and what do these people want in their career, and sort of marrying the two. So I sort of feel like I'm a matchmaker in a sense, but also I have to understand technology and how the technology works, and just knowing what type of questions to ask candidates. Granted, I'm not technical by any means. So, there's a lot of things to learn from the technology standpoint. And for me, I felt like it was just a good career path for me. And I've just been really lucky that now I get to do it from home.
That's actually very interesting, because I was out last night with a girlfriend of mine from high school. She happened to come into Los Angeles for work. She lives in Florida. She has 2 children, and her son had a really hard time with this trip for some reason. He was calling her right away, crying and saying, "Mommy, come home. I miss you. I need you to be here." And she said that he'd never done that before. So it was really tough. In those moments, you have to be strong, but you also melt, because you want to be there for your children, and you don't know, is this going to impact them as they grow up,
Right.
So what do you tell yourself? Like, how do you handle those moments?
Okay. So in the moments of like that guilt, so for me, I know I'm a better mom when I'm working. I think by having a career prior to having kids, it was such a huge part of my DNA and just who I am. So, I mean, I tried to stay home for 6 months when I had Ariana, and I just was so depressed. We moved to a new city. I didn't have like any friends. I had a 4-month-old. And so for me, it was, I felt like I needed a bigger sense of purpose in a way. Like, I love being a mom, but I want to be other things too. And so for me, I just know I'm just a better mom. And when I am with them, then I just need to focus on them. Like, I'm a really big believer in being present, especially like, for me, from like at 5 to 8 o'clock, that is my family time. rarely will I be on social media. Rarely will I be talking with anybody else because that's my time with my kids and my husband.
Actually, it's so funny that this just randomly came up because my friend, I told her about the interview today, and I said, what is one question you would want to ask this lady boss mama we're going to interview? And she asked me, sounds like she's got a lot on her plate, so how does she stay in the moment? And her follow-up question was, especially with her husband, how does she find time to kindle romance and like connect with her husband? And I think that's something that's really dear to her right now. So I wanted to ask for her, so when she watches this, she can get some tips from you.
Oh my gosh. So with my husband, I think for us, like I have tried to do a few things. For me, I just need like 5 to 10 minutes a day. Just sit with me and just talk with me. And my husband has a really demanding job. And so when he comes home, the last thing he wants to do is talk, really. So honestly, sometimes we don't get a chance to really, talk. But we definitely try to, like, on the weekends after the kids go to bed, like we try to at least, connect, or we have date nights. We used to do date nights like once a month, but life happens. And I think it's been like 2 or 3 months right now. But good news is date night's coming up this Saturday.
What advice would you give to women who are thinking about starting something entrepreneurial, but they still want to keep their job for the stability and during the day and all of that? Like what advice would you have for them if they're trying to do both?
My advice is definitely keep your day job, because the blogging job, it is like truly, it's a hustle. Like I am just blown away by how much work, how much energy you have to put into it. But the thing is, I always tell people, if you have ever thought about doing a blog or doing Instagram or whatever it is, if you feel like you want to do it, just do it, because it's not going to hurt anything. You never want to go back and be like, man, I wish I did this. And you just dream about it. Just do it, like, and see where it takes you. You never know what type of opportunities will come up, because, you could stay in that daydreaming thing forever, but if you don't do anything about it, you're never going to know what it's going to be like.
What are the 3 mistakes that you made doing your blog in the very beginning, like starting it, that you would tell other people, avoid this?
Analysis paralysis. I am just like, I'm a researcher. When I want to know something, I research, and then I just was flooded with so much information. But in a way, because I want to be prepared in what I do, and I don't want to half-ass anything. Like when I do it, it's 150%. So, but I spent so much time just researching. I could have just jumped into it and just sort of made more mistakes along the way. But I think my fear of failure is also something that, I wanted to avoid. But at the same time, even now there's times that I feel like a failure, because sometimes I just don't want to do it anymore. I'm just like so exhausted and tired, right? And I think when you're working full time, a mom, and trying to side hustle like this, it's really hard to manage your time. So I think another thing was like letting Instagram consume my life.
Yeah.
That's number 2. Another thing, don't let it consume your life. I think you definitely have to sort of set parameters, or I sort of live by a calendar at this point. Like I'm like 7:30 to 8 Instagram time, right? To just check my messages, to follow up with whatever, to respond back and engage with followers. And then during my lunch, sometimes I'll do a story or whatever. So I try to structure my day. And then at night, that's when I started doing my blogging. And with so number 3, a mistake was, this wasn't an initial mistake, because initially I actually wrote like 10 blog posts ahead of time. But life happened, right? And then I fell behind. And now when I write blog posts, it's like on a weekly thing. So, right, I'm currently in my mistake because I've like been ahead of the game. So if you want to blog, it's best to, if you're a fashion person, shoot your photos in bulk. That's what I do now. Like once a quarter, I shoot all my fall looks, and then I have all my fall looks for the entire fall. I don't go every weekend or anything. And then start to write blog posts after that, because it will just help. It will help streamline things, and you won't be out.
Great advice.
Yeah, because I mean, the other day I stayed up until 3 o'clock, writing a blog post, and I granted there's really no true timeline with this collaboration, but still I'm like frantically writing. And when you write, sometimes you just go, you start writing, and I'm like, oh yeah, I should write about this and I should write about that. And all of a sudden you have like 1,000 words in this thing, and you're like, okay, I need to shorten it a little bit.
This is from myintent.org. I don't know if you've heard of this, but they do the bracelets where you can actually have a word in the bracelet and then keep it with you. Mine was fearless because I'm constantly working on being fearless. Anyway, when I got the bracelet, they also sent the deck, What's Your Word? And it's basically a bunch of cards with different themes like dreams and passions and motivation. And I'm going to have you pick one.
Okay.
Go for it, Allie. Yeah.
Ooh, this is good. It's from Dream, and it's called, and then the question is, what is your perfect day?
Oh, my perfect day. Children that are not screaming.
Yeah.
Children that will listen, definitely. A husband that will cook. Granted, my husband does cook on the weekends. And just hanging out as a family. I mean, I think that's really, for me, it's pretty simple. It's just, I just don't want chaos. That is my dream day.
So thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Allie.
Guys, I really appreciate it.